Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Card Zone. My name is Sergio, and I'm your host. I would like to reiterate once again as to why I'm doing this podcast in regards to childhood sexual abuse. And it is to raise awareness, provide support, and contribute to breaking the silence surrounding this sensitive issue. By sharing my stories, insights, and information, I aim to create a platform where survivors can feel heard, foster a sense of community, and help others understand the impact of such experiences. Additionally, my podcast may serve as a form of resource for education, encouraging conversations that contribute to break down stigma and promote healing. Ultimately, my goal is to contribute to a safer and more supportive environment for survivors and to inspire positive change in addressing and preventing childhood sexual abuse. I'm just going to read you my disclaimer, as I will be doing on every podcast. I think that's important to put it out there. This podcast may discuss sensitive topics, including CSA. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast discusses experiences of abuse, violence, suicidal ideation, and childhood sexual abuse, which may be distressing to some listeners. The content provided is for informational and educational purposes only, and it is not a substitute for professional advice. So if you or someone you know needs support, please seek help from a qualified professional or contact your local helpline in your area. Now, before I continue with my story, I want to get something off my chest. I think it's important to share with my listeners and followers, as I received a call last night from my birth mother. I know a lot of you are going to be quite shocked, and so was I. Now, keep in mind that, I had not had any communication in the past 19 years. So my last conversation with my birth mother went something like this. We were in her condo, and after dinner, having dinner with her, it was just her and I. And after having dinner, I thought it would be a good time to tell her that I had been sexually molested as a child by the sperm donor, and for almost 6 years. When I told her about me being sexually molested as a child, her initial response was, I didn't know he was doing this to you. That was her first lie. She knew because she had caught one of her children in bed with the sperm donor. I reminded her of this, and she then responded, okay, I did know, but he promised that he would never do it again. But you knew he had done it again with one of your other children. I don't want to say which one, and I want to just say children. I don't want to say who, because I think that's their story to tell. Came forward and told you. I was there when this other child told both of them. This was done in front of me, like I said, and in front of both of them. Now, my birth mother immediately spoke and said, no, he would never do that. Why would you say such a thing? Why would you lie about it? When I reminded her of our conversation, this is now going back to her condo, she then blurts it out. What was I supposed to do? Get stuck with all of you? Now, I want to tell you that story first because my conversation by phone was, the only way I can say it was quite surprising, and I was in shock that she even called in the first place. So her first words to me when I answered the phone is, why haven't you called me? Why haven't you called your mother? My response was, yeah, right. I was in shock and immediately filled with anger that she had the audacity to call me after 19 years and question me as to why I had not called. My response was, "You need to take responsibility for your decisions or lack thereof." She said, "But I didn't know." I started to remind her of our conversation and other conversations that she's had with other children in the family in regards to the same topic. Now, her favorite thing to do, if anybody knows of this type of person, is deny, deny, deny. Well, she responded by saying, "I didn't know what was happening." And I told her, and at this point, I was quite irate at this point, "You knew everything that was happening. You chose to be blind about it. You chose not to protect your children from this animal. You chose him over us." Now she's telling me that I had imagined everything and that my brain was all screwed up. I told her at this point, "I don't want to talk to you anymore. Don't call me ever again," and I hung up. Phone number blocked, by the way. A 3-minute conversation has had an immense impact on me today. Yeah, I'm getting emotional. And who knows how long this will last. I hope not too long. You see, this is why I talk about narcissism. She is a textbook case. And once again, I felt not heard, belittled, like an 11-year-old child being told that I was lying. Anger. I felt like a volcano about to erupt, and I was about to become hysterical. Frustration. Confused. Stupid. Worthless. Like I didn't matter. Like jumping out of my skin and running away. I'm sure there are others, but I think you get the picture. Now, I can't even get the entire conversation out of my head, out of my mind. It is like a recording on replay and looping around. This is very disheartening, and I'm very sad about this entire situation. It ruined my night, as I couldn't sleep, and it took me a while to do so. And mood-wise, well, it has put me in a step back or two from my recovery. Now I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. And what I mean is, she loves and thrives on family drama. She loves creating it. Now, which one of her kids will be calling me to address, in her eyes, my rudeness, and how could I be so disrespectful? And it just doesn't matter who calls. I will be telling them where to go. This brings up the subject to talk about triggers. I know I've talked about them before as far as like, what are my triggers? But obviously this particular call was very triggering for me. And so I wanted to just give a little more insight on triggers themselves, how to manage them possibly, or how to have a helping hand in dealing with them. So as we delve into the complexities of childhood sexual abuse, it is essential to shine a light on triggers, those emotional landmines that can suddenly and unexpectedly transport us back to moments of trauma. And that's exactly what that phone call did to me. Triggers come in various forms: a scent, a sound, a particular touch, each capable of evoking intense emotions and memories. For survivors of CSA, these triggers can lurk in the shadows, waiting to ambush us when we least expect it. Now, perhaps it is the sound of a door creaking open, reminiscent of a time when safety felt like a distant dream. Or maybe it's a sight of a familiar face, triggering a cascade of memories too painful to bear. But here's the thing about triggers. Acknowledging them is the first step towards reclaiming power over our own narratives. By shining a light on these dark corners, we diminish their power to control us. So, to my fellow survivors listening, you know that you are not alone. Your triggers do not define you. And though the road to healing may be long and winding, you possess a strength within you that is immeasurable. And to those who may be supporting survivors, lend an empathetic ear, a gentle touch, and an unwavering presence. Your support can make all the difference. Now I just want to cover another topic that sort of this call touched upon me. I'd like to cover just, I know I covered it before, but I just want to go over the inner child again. In the aftermath of trauma, especially the profound wounds left behind by CSA, there exists within us an often overlooked and vulnerable part of our inner child. This inner child carried the weight of our past. Carries the weight of our past. The echoes of pain and betrayal in a perpetual state of fear and confusion. But amidst the darkness, there lies a glimmer of hope, the possibility of healing. By acknowledging and embracing our inner child, we can open the door to profound transformation and healing. So I want everybody to picture this: a frightened child, huddled in a corner, seeking solace and safety. This child is part of us, yearning to be seen, heard, and most importantly, loved. As survivors of CSA, our inner child may carry wounds too deep for words, scars that may never fully fade. But through compassion and nurturing, we can begin to mend those broken pieces, offering comfort to that inner child. So let us embark on a journey of self-discovery and healing, reaching out a hand to our inner child with gentleness and understanding. Once again, to my fellow survivors, know that you are not alone on this journey. Together we can reclaim our innocence, our joy, and our right to a life free from the shadows of the past. And to those who may be listening, I urge you to approach the concept of the inner child with empathy and compassion. For within each of us resides a vulnerable child, long to be embraced and accepted. Since I had this call, that had an effect on my inner child, and it triggered me. I felt it was necessary to mention this again in order to help that special person you may know going through the exact same thing as I did. Now on to my story. I ended my last podcast mentioning that my first wife was not aware of my abusive past, nor did she even care about my life. I thought I'd never want to talk about what happened to me during my teen years. I just wanted to bury it all. I thought, out of sight, out of mind. But I didn't realize the impact it would have on me by holding everything in. Part of me just didn't care. Once again, I didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to enjoy married life. What I thought was, at the time, I had a certain picture that I had painted as far as what married life should be. Traveling, enjoying the finer things in life, having kids to raise them, to ensure what happened to me never happens to them. However, I never expected for my dreams to be crushed by someone who apparently loved me. I didn't know if she knew, or didn't want to talk to me about it, or she did know, but decided all on her own not to have kids. There's certain words that echo in my mind, and these are one of them. My body, my decision. So now, I was living and married to someone who didn't love me enough to go through whatever it took to have kids. This was very heartbreaking, on top of other things that I was carrying. Just added to the pile, I said, not realizing what was going to happen down the road. And while the sexual and physical abuse stopped, as I mentioned before, but the verbal assaults continued because I never wanted to visit my birth parents. I hated them. So why would I give them my time? I couldn't stand to look at them. I was disgusted just to be in the same room. And that's the only reason I ever lasted 1 or 2 hours the most. It was during these times that I started to disassociate. English is my second language. That I started to disassociate. I started to disconnect from my thoughts, feelings, and memories. I felt nothing towards everyone around me. It was like having total numbness. I just didn't feel anything for anyone. Meanwhile, performing in my job at a top level, being promoted every 2 years, and being outstanding in everything I touched at work. But I never wanted the attention, nor the accolades that came with it. I guess I just had been totally focused on my job. Do you know how many times I walked into work not knowing how I got there? Once in a while it happens to people. Do you know how many times all of a sudden it's 7 p.m. and I had no clue as to what I did that day? These situations weren't just a one-off. This was happening 3-4 times a week. Losing focus all the time. And slowly, my anger was increasing over the years. I know haven't spent that much time here today, but I wanted to keep this a little bit short, only because of this particular phone call that I had yesterday. And so my words today are, as we come to the end of today's episode, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for joining me on this journey. Today we explore the depths of pain, resilience, and confronting the shadows of CSA with a courage and compassion. To my fellow survivors that are listening, I want you to know that your voices matter, your stories matter, and your healing matters. You are not defined by the traumas of your past. You are defined by your strength, your resilience, and your unwavering spirit. And to those who may be supporting a survivor, thank you. Your empathy, your understanding, and your willingness to stand in solidarity make a world of difference. As we navigate the complexities of healing, may we continue to hold space for one another, to uplift and to empower, and to never lose sight of the light that shines within each of us. So remember, healing is not a destination. It is a journey, one that we embark on together, hand in hand, heart in heart. So until next time, please take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and never forget that you're not alone.